Well, looky here, a live episode of Rule of Two. It's episode 51. I'm joined by Marc Fernandez. How are you, sir?
I'm pretty good, bro. How are you?
I'm doing well. May the force be with you. I mean, we got
the force be with you.
We are going to open the phone lines up tonight. We're going to answer your questions, and this is going to be a fun episode. I'm looking forward to it. But I wanted to start here, Marc Fernandez.
What's the over/under you think on how many calls we'll actually get?
I think we'll get over 5.
You think we'll get some calls?
Over 10? I think we'll have some calls.
Let's get some good calls, and let's talk Star Wars. You know, like I've seen so many comments always say, "Oh, I love Rule of Two because it feels like I'm just hanging out and chatting with my friends."
Right.
Like that's the opportunity at hand today.
Yeah.
You know, it's like come call us in, let's talk Star Wars. Let's have a little bit of fun, but know that if it gets a little, unruly.
Yeah, oh yeah.
Anyway, Cody Hall's quick with the hang-up trigger.
Yep, we can use the Force.
Yeah.
We can Force choke across the galaxy.
Yeah.
And basically just hang up.
Yeah.
So, yeah, we want to keep it civil, fun. This is Star Wars. This is a celebration, everything in the Star Wars universe. We want to talk about Rise of Skywalker, get your opinion on this. Because Kevin Smith said a few things.
Yeah.
And this is where I wanted to start here. He basically said that the last scene of Rise of Skywalker is going to blow our mind. And he was like crying or melt our mind.
Yeah. So I have a bunch of questions about this.
I do too. I want you to start because we might be on the same page, but I don't know. So,
first of all, what did he actually see? I'm very interested in.
Right.
Who let him into the cut room? I'm guessing JJ showed him.
JJ did, yeah.
Showed him the whole movie or just scenes? We don't know.
He said he saw the last scene, and it was like JJ was like, "You don't want to see this," or something like that. And I think it was because of his heart attack that he had that he was invited on set. And so Kevin Smith was basically like, "No, spoil it for me. I want to see it." And so after recovering from a heart attack in early 2018, Kevin Smith visited J.J. Abrams on the set, and there was scuttlebutt about the set at Pinewood Studios. Smith said, they're like, "You have to see this. When you see it, it will melt your mind." So I asked J.J. They kept telling me I should see the set. He's like, "Don't. It's the last shot of the movie." But then he went and saw it, and you don't want to be spoiled, but you want to be in the theater when this happens, is what J.J. said. Trust me. And then other people on the crew were like, "Bro, you should see it. It's going to melt your mind." So he then saw it, and it melted his mind.
It melted his mind. Okay. Yeah. So look, I like Kevin Smith. I've met him personally. He's come through the studio a few times. He's a legend in our space. He's a true Comic-Con hero. He's a true comic book hero. He's that great, right? He's got like a lot of accolades and a great resume, and he's a good dude. But, and I guess there is a but, is that I do feel like he tends to like everything a little bit.
Yeah. Oh, you know what? Let me add this to it.
Jump in.
He did take JJ's. I just finished the article. He did take JJ's advice. Didn't see the final set. I guess everybody's just saying that the last shot of the movie is going to melt your mind. So Kevin Smith listened to JJ and said, "Okay, no spoilers. I'm going to see it in the theater."
Right.
So I want to make that clear.
All right. So the final shot is probably Anakin Skywalker.
Do you think so?
It's probably Hayden Christensen. No?
Well, he says it's a set.
It's the set?
It's a set. I wonder what that could mean.
It's the set.
Yeah. Guys in the comments section, let us know what you're thinking about. What do you think that last set could be?
Yeah, and it's like, look, just to go against, like, my only sort of cynicism on this is that Kevin Smith, and I actually enjoy watching his movie reviews. I mean, they're really long, and he basically just gives you like a shot-by-shot retelling of the movie. Like, that's literally how he reviews movies.
Okay.
And they're cool, and they're fun, and he's an engaging guy, and you can tell he loves this shit. But his critiques don't hit home. You know what I mean? Like, he doesn't seem to give you that counter argument of how things could have been better or things that he's not much of a critic, I guess. I guess he's more of a fan, which is okay.
Yeah, and I think with him, he's a filmmaker as well, and I'm with him on that. Yeah, because it's like
he's a creator more than he is a critic.
Exactly.
Which I like.
Yeah, and so especially for like Star Wars stuff. I mean, it's like, we get hit on the internet sometimes with our Star Wars opinions, and I always say I'll never change. I grew up with Star Wars, so am I biased with Star Wars? You're damn right I am. It defined who I am as a kid. It made me want to go become a writer. It made all these things possible. Yeah. So even though I don't like some of the movies as much as the others, there's always something in there that I love. I mean, I don't like Attack of the Clones as much as you do.
Right.
There is a lot of stuff in there that I'm like, oh God. But today I was like surfing the internet, and there was the Battle of Geonosis scene where Yoda comes in and all the Jedi are there, like, create a perimeter, and I found myself watching the entire scene, and then all of a sudden I blink and I'm like, wait a minute, I just watched all the way up to Yoda fighting Dooku and was enjoying the hell out of myself.
Yeah, it's a cool movie, man. It's a cool movie.
So there you go. I mean, that's stuff that I do like in Attack of the Clones. So, but you were saying.
I don't, Sphinx Productions, I'll reply to you. I don't want more negativity, but I do want an open dialogue that crosses into criticism if it's deserved.
And constructive.
Constructive criticism, because ultimately that feedback mechanism I think is very important, and if you don't have people that are willing to sort of turn a critical eye towards things, then it's just nothing ever really changes. Yeah. And like, look, we get critiques all the time on this show. Yeah. I'm too negative. You're too positive.
Right.
Right. And we take it with a grain of salt, but we do take it.
Yeah.
And we try to adapt to it. I've tried to be more positive, and you've tried to be more negative.
Yeah. Well, I've tried to, just to your point, constructive. Criticize, but at least just kind of balance it out to what I do like, but I can look at it through the lens of, okay, if I would have done something different, this is what I feel. But I'm never going to be I can't hate on Star Wars.
You're going to be honest to your own, to your own thing. It's like, it's your own opinion. It's your own POV.
Right.
Jane Turner asks, Marc Fernandez works at Geeks and Gamers. No, Marc Fernandez does not work at Geeks and Gamers.
No. You work here.
I've heard of that channel. I've never really watched it, but I have heard of it.
Yeah. But yeah, we should this is our cold open. We want to get to the phone lines. We want to answer your questions. It's episode 51. We got to do something that gets this started. So why don't we do it? Because there's a little word that is used to kick it all up. So this is episode 51 of Rule of Two.
Rise.
That's right. Episode 51 is here, a Rule of Two. I am Mark Reilly, your host, alongside Marc Fernandez. And
what up?
You are here on Collider Videos. We're going live today.
We're going live. This is the first live show we do in a few weeks, right?
Yeah, we had to pre-tape because you were out of town, and so we did a nice conversation last week that we pre-taped before, dropped it on Monday, but now we're back. And yeah, we thought it was fun. Fernandez came up to me and said, well, can we open the phone lines? I said, hell yeah, we can. We have the best switcher in the business with Cody Hall.
Yeah, Cody Hall. One day we'll get Cody Hall in here because I think he and I need to have a little debate.
Yeah.
Because Cody Hall's like a super prequel hater, right, Cody? Are you a prequel hater, Cody?
Not a hater. I'd say a disliker.
A disliker. Okay, that's good enough. We should take out the old sabers and see, see what we got. Because it could be fun. Because sometimes I always like hearing people that dislike these movies because I like them so much.
Right.
But I know that they're not perfect, and I know that at points they're not even good.
Yeah.
But there's so much, and like a super nerd, I watched the making of episode 1 over the weekend.
I love that. I love any making of feature, even if it's a movie that didn't really land with me.
And like my biggest takeaway from seeing it is that I'm really in awe of how much fun Ewan McGregor had with this role.
Yeah, he was like a kid.
Yeah,
because he got cast as Obi-Wan, and then he had a lightsaber. Because I remember you showed something on Twitter, and I remember that from the documentary. He gets like pushed, and he falls in the thing, and he gets up, and he's like, "Let's do it again!" Oh my god, because he's playing Star Wars.
Yeah, I think the quote is something like, he's like, "They asked me if I wanted to do it Star Wars, and I was like, yeah, but let's do it fucking right," or something like that.
Right, right,
like,
right.
It's like he embodies everything that you dream about when somebody says, "Let's go work on a Star Wars movie."
Yeah,
the guy really, really, really loved that role, and you see it on the screen. I mean, he does a fucking great job.
And I think that everybody would say that he's one of the best parts of all the prequels is his performance.
Yeah.
I mean, you have great performances across the board in certain, like, I think of Liam Neeson as Qui-Gon Jinn. He's fantastic.
Fantastic.
In it. But it was Obi-Wan that really, kind of connected to the regular trilogy. And Ewan McGregor, those are some big shoes to fill with Alec Guinness, and he pulled it off. And so I love it. And give us our Obi-Wan movie or our series. But I see the Big Mac Army is in the chat
Big Mac
room.
Army is special sauce, lettuce, cheese,
There it
12
is.
beef patties, and a sesame seed bun in the house. I think we got our first call.
We do have our first call, so we're going to open it up. And you're on Rule of Two. Who do we got?
You got Christian from Norway here.
Hey, Christian. Is
From
this Christian
Nor-
Hestus?
Yes, that's me.
Hey, dude. How are you? I know
I'm
him.
good.
I know him. What's your question today for Rule of Two?
One actor I'm really excited for in Episode 9 is Richard E. Grant.
Oh, Richard E. Grant. Yeah.
How big of a role do you think he's gonna have in Episode 9?
Great question. Thanks, Christian. I think Richard E. Grant is First Order. I think he's going to be like one of the generals that takes over for Hux. I think so.
Who is it again?
Richard E. Grant did. He was nominated for an Oscar for "Can You Ever Forgive Me" with Melissa McCarthy this past year.
Okay.
In fact, he should have won, in my opinion. He was fantastic. Richard E. Grant was in L.A. Story. He's been in a number of things. He is playing a First Order for sure. He's like tailor-made for that. So I personally think that he is going to be a big part of the movie, and I wonder if big enough to where him and Hux
That guy.
yeah, are
Also in Eyes Wide Shut. Stanley
Eyes Wide
Kubrick's
Shut, yep.
Eyes Wide Shut, yeah.
I think that he's going to be bucking for power against Hux. And I can't wait, and this is what I think. I think Richard E. Grant is going to slap Hux into submission. That's what I feel, because he's a fantastic actor, and I think he's tailor-made to be a Star Wars baddie.
Yeah.
So-
I love him in Logan.
Oh, he's great in Logan,
He's
too.
great in Logan.
Yep. He's just great across the board.
Look, here's my problem with these sort of casts in these new Star Wars movies. And even in the prequels and even in the original trilogy. It's hard for anybody that's not part of the main crew to get a lot of screen time and a lot of time to shine. You
Right.
know? I saw Once Upon a Time in Hollywood over the weekend.
Same.
And I thought it was great. You know,
Loved it. I loved it.
Loved it. But what's so good about it is that I could have spent 30 hours in that cinema hanging out with those characters.
Yeah, me
The
too.
characters are just really interesting. And Quentin Tarantino does a great job in creating these epic scenes of dialogue that really let you dive into the characters, their sense of humor, their vulnerabilities, their strengths, their weaknesses, their wants, their desires, their fears, all these kinds of things are what you go to the movies for sometimes.
Yeah.
And not that Star Wars ever gave you a ton of that, but I always did feel like you got, you know, that it's sort of getting less and less and less and less and less of that. And that's why with The Last Jedi, the thing that I actually really loved about The Last Jedi are all the scenes between Rey and Kylo.
Yeah, oh yeah.
Because
It's the best.
Because those scenes really let you get to know these people better, you know? And it feels to me like they tried to do an Attack of the Clones with Princess Amidala and
Anakin, yeah.
to try to get to know each other a little better. It kind of fell flat.
It really did. I mean, it goes to Attack of the Clones. I mean, he's talking about sand, and it's just kind of boring, and he gets up and walks away,
Yeah.
and then he says something, and he comes back, and it was very static and
But,
just
like,
kind of.
The reason I love the Dexter scene is that I actually think that Obi-Wan and Dexter have a good dialogue.
It's great.
You know,
I
they-
actually like Dexter in that scene.
Yeah, it feels like they know each other. Like you believe that these two people are friends, and like he's telling him about like where he got the poison from or where he thinks this is from, and tells him about Camino and all those things. I love that scene.
Yeah.
you know, Dooku and Obi-Wan. You know, when they're when like Dooku gives you a little bit of exposition backstory
Right.
about Qui-Gon, would have probably been here with me right now, and he's like Qui-Gon would have never joined you, and like all these things. I don't think we get enough of that in the new movies. You know, like if you think about it, the only time you really get it, I think, is with Kylo and Rey in The Last Jedi.
And I think that's by design. And I'm still hoping, crossing my fingers, that we get some sort of Force flashback with Luke and Ben Solo, and you get a little flavor of like the Anakin and Obi-Wan relationship, the Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan relationship. You know what I mean? Like, especially Clone Wars Obi-Wan and Anakin, where we see them on maybe an adventure. They're not going to do it, of course, but I would love to see just a little reaction, a little interaction before Ben Solo falls to the dark side.
Yeah.
Because I think that would fill in some blanks. And also, I think it opens an opportunity to have Luke Skywalker kick some ass, and we see it, and then maybe that will kind of take away some of the sting of not seeing him do the, I know a lot of fans, including me, I would have seen it, but him really doing something like pulling a Star Destroyer out of the sky, but that's a little out there.
Yeah, so I guess to answer the caller's question, I hope that Richard E. Grant gets his moment on screen. I hope, like anybody,
I hope he choose some scenery there.
Maybe Richard E. Grant plays like, I don't know, yeah, like I'm with you. It's some kind of First Order thing. I mean, he looks like Thrawn, kind of like how I imagine Thrawn in my head.
Right. Yeah.
You paint them blue, and like that is Thrawn. I mean, it's perfect.
It would be great. I remember going back to when Rogue One was coming out, and I'm like, what if Ben Mendelsohn was Thrawn?
Right.
Because he had the white uniform, and it's like, and they're just showing him like they did with, like when they put Hulk in the Infinity War trailer, and then he was never Hulk.
A little misdirect.
It was a little misdirect, and like the movie opens and he's blue, but that's a podcast for another time. Great question. Thank you so much for calling in, and lots of you in the chat. I like this one, talking Star Wars in the chat. Do you think Maz will appear in The Mandalorian? Maz Kanata, what do you think? I think you don't think so?
I don't think so.
I don't.
Lupita's too big an actor. She's too big an actor for that.
Maybe.
It'd be a big deal. Like if Lupita was in it, it'd be a big deal, and we probably would have known. Maybe not known about it, but I mean, that's huge marketing muscle if she was in it.
I tell you what, though, if this thing goes big, and he's already writing season 2, they could maybe get Maz for a cameo or a part, maybe an episode. It's a great question, though, because I think we need some of those connective tissues to get us to the sequel trilogy 30 years later. So Maz would be a great addition to that because she's on Tokadana, and she's got her own like kind of little cantina there. She's not necessarily completely. I mean, there's some shady stuff going on there. Would you say?
It makes sense if she was in it.
It would make sense.
It would make
That's
sense
what
if
I'm
she
trying
was
to say. So yeah, there we go. We got a caller coming in. You're on Rule of Two. Who do we got?
Alan from Florida.
Oh, what's up? I'm from Florida, bro.
How are you doing?
What part of Florida?
Yeah. I'm actually in Casino. I've been on the mic for like quite some time. I don't know if you guys heard me or anything like that. I was actually agreeing with you guys and about the dialogue and everything like that. And I added what about Ahsoka and oh my goodness, Ahsoka and
Ezra?
Darth Vader's interaction with each other. Anakin, when he was training her and everything like that.
Yeah, that's that's some good stuff too.
Yeah,
it is. Like that's some hard hitting stuff, especially like when I was actually late to the game, but when she found out that Anakin was Darth Vader, I mean that whole scene where like she was fighting him and trying to bring him back.
Yeah.
And she cut his helmet.
And you see his eye, and she like, and he like looks through her, but
my God, like that's such an emotional scene.
Yeah, I
because
love that
you know
too.
how much she cares for him. Like she looked up to him as like an older brother. It's like a father figure, and he became that monster.
Mm-hmm.
It was so deep. And in the side of that, if they do like add Ahsoka to any of the movies going forward, who would you like to play as Ahsoka?
Yeah, so good questions. Thanks for the call, buddy. Thanks for the call.
You made the call for Ahsoka on a live action, and why don't you say it? Because I loved the pick.
God, I've.
Or have you changed your mind, or is there new?
It's just how old is she? in the live action, you know, because like
Right. Well, depending on where they would put Ahsoka, drop that into the chat
you know
as
who
well.
I have now, like you know who I can't stop seeing now is Ahsoka.
Who?
And maybe it's because I've been watching Euphoria recently. Mm-hmm. Zendaya.
Ooh, I'm watching Euphoria too. Isn't it crazy?
It's crazy.
Yeah, I'm never having kids.
Yeah, I mean, but she's such a good actor, man.
She is fantastic in it.
And
yeah.
she's athletic, and I don't know. I mean, look, like she's not the right age.
Right. Well, again, where would we put an Ahsoka movie? Like, where would it be in the timeline? And because, you know, Filoni came out at the Star Wars Celebration a couple years ago, and for the announcement of Clone Wars, and when the lights came up, it said Ahsoka lives, because there was that question, you know, I know she kind of went off, and it was kind of vague, but would it be like a sequel to Rebels where we could see her again in that timeline? Could we see it just, pop up somewhere within the Clone Wars?
Who was my other pick for Ahsoka? It was the girl from Alexander the Great that I worked with on Getting Up, wasn't it? From Do the Right, from Alexander the Great. She was in Daredevil.
Yeah.
She plays like the nurse in Daredevil.
Yeah, I'm trying to. I can't pull the name for the life of me right now.
Oh my God. Collective amnesia.
Yeah,
Rosario Dawson.
Rosario Dawson.
Thank
Rosario
you.
Dawson. If we were to do like a sequel post Revenge of the Sith, post Rebels world, I think Rosario Dawson would be an interesting pick for me. I mean, this is just my headcanon.
I liked your pick. Yeah, I think she's perfect. Actually,
Yeah.
I think she'd be fantastic. The question being, where could we put an Ahsoka? Would it be a movie? I think a streaming service or a streaming series is the way to go for Ahsoka, because you can really, that character has become so beloved. When you think that she almost didn't even make it out of the Clone Wars movie because she was so annoying, people were like, "Oh God," she's like, it wasn't great. But over time, through the Clone Wars, and her arc is spectacular in the Clone Wars.
It is spectacular.
And so I would almost want like a live action version of that, but we have such a beautiful version of it with the Clone Wars. It's a good question. Guys in the chat, where would you want to put an Ahsoka movie, and would you want it to be maybe a streaming? Because I think, again, a streaming would be a fantastic way to go. And Big Buddha 180 agrees with me, and I like that.
Yeah. So while we wait for the next call, let's think about this, because it keeps rattling around in my head. What set are they talking about?
What's set?
For that melted Kevin Smith's mind.
Oh, you want to get back to that? Yeah.
I mean, let's think about it. Like what set? Like, if you were to see something in Episode 9 that has already been seen before, let's make that assumption.
Yeah.
It's a set that would melt your mind.
And he's got to unite the saga.
He's got to unite the saga.
Okay. Is it Mustafar?
The lava?
Yeah, where Anakin and Obi-Wan had their last duel, where Vader built his castle then that we saw in Rogue One.
But we've already seen that in Rogue One, so
Yeah,
it's not a
I
mind
know.
melter. Somebody in the comments said the Emperor's throne room.
Yeah, I mean,
And that's interesting. Look, I think that one of the things that I was thinking about on my way to work today, actually, was we got to get some kind of closure on the Snoke thing.
yeah, we do.
Like the Snoke thing is just like they can't pretend the Snoke thing didn't happen.
No, I know. I agree with you. I love that he went out the way he did, because I love being surprised like that.
Fine, but it needs something.
Again, I wonder if it ties to, again, I love how I can always, every time I do a Star Wars thing, I bring up Dark Empire.
Right.
Because it's my thing. And
Yeah, it's your
we
thing.
know that the Emperor is coming back. So, again, is it a clone? And could we buy, if the explanation is Snoke was a weathered down, broken version of the Emperor? That clone was dying. And then Kylo took him out. And then we see him come back. But
I mean, look, it also depends what they mean by melt your mind. Like, spoiler warning, was seeing Darth Maul at the end of Solo a mind melter?
didn't melt my mind.
It didn't melt my mind at all. I actually thought it was ridiculous.
A lot of people are putting it in there, and I love this. Haskell 420 did this, but Burt Mills is closer to me for what would melt my mind. All the Force Ghosts. Haskell says Endor, and Burt says Force Ghosts on Tatooine. Tatooine would do it for me. You know why? Because that's where Anakin was. That's where Luke was.
That's where it all started.
That's where it all started. That's where Obi-Wan ended up. going back to the Skywalker homestead. I mean, we're talking about full circle here. If like somehow Rey, like maybe she goes to like finally say goodbye to Luke, goes to the like pick up the journal, because in the comics, Luke Skywalker picked up the journals from Obi-Wan's hovel and the Dune Sea. That could be some kind of thing. Maybe the Jedi text that she grabbed at the end of The Last Jedi. There's something about bringing Tatooine in, because Tatooine is the one consistent planet, because we haven't had any planets from any of the sequels or prequels, right? They've all been new.
What's the mind? Yeah, what's the mind melter? So anyway, call in 323. Oh, here we go. We got one.
We got one. You're on Rule of Two. Who do we got?
You got Ron from Phoenix, Arizona.
Is it Ron? Is that what you said?
Yep.
Hey, Ron, how are you?
Yep. Doing good, man. Love the show.
Thank you
Cool.
very much.
Thank you very much.
So what's your question?
It's not really a question. Well, I guess it's a question and more of a comment about your previous show. Fernandez was saying that he didn't like any Star Wars without the Big Mac. And I think, Reilly, you were saying that you were really excited about The Mandalorian, which I am too.
Yeah.
I think a lot of the fans are.
Mm-hmm.
And it may not have the Force or lightsabers in it.
Right.
But with your Big Mac analogy, it's like, every time you go to McDonald's, you don't go to Big Mac. Fernandez, you like chicken nuggets.
I love chicken nuggets. I love chicken nuggets.
Yeah, chicken sandwich.
Yeah, and
so that's all. I'm just saying, if it's it can still be Star Wars without the Force or lightsaber.
So first of all, Ron,
taking the call too, guys.
all right, thank you for the call, Ron.
Thank you, Ron.
So first of all, I agree completely with Ron that if it's done well, it could be great.
Right.
Okay, but where I will stray is that I actually do think that The Mandalorian is going to have a very, very strong element of the Force in it.
Yeah.
And I think that it's going to deal with the dark saber. I think it's going to deal with some of the stuff that Star Wars Rebels touched on.
Mm-hmm.
And I forget the Mandalorian's name. This is where you need, Ken Napsok. But there was a Mandalorian who crafted the dark saber.
The dark saber. Yeah.
I forget his name right now, and maybe somebody in the comments will help me out. But there was a Mandalorian in Rebels that is the one that crafts the dark saber and is strong in the Force and is a Mandalorian, was the first Mandalorian Jedi. I think sooner or later the Mandalorian will start to revolve around a Force user. I can't imagine the show actually not going there. So it's kind of a roundabout way of agreeing and disagreeing with you, Ron. I agree with you that the chicken nuggets are awesome and you can get a 20-piece and sweet and sour sauce and be happy with it.
Yeah.
But I do think that when you go into McDonald's and you order the 20-piece, you always say, you know what, throw a Big Mac on there too.
Who created it was Tar Vizsla.
Tar Vizsla, maybe. Yeah.
And
Tar Vizsla.
And I think that, and also I think it needs to be said for me as well in regards to the Big Mac and the Jedi and the Force is what we like to say. I always want that because that's the most fascinating part of Star Wars for me is the Jedi and the Sith and the Force and that mythology and what everything they say about it. But I'm not opposed to a good series that doesn't really touch on it. But now I was thinking, I'm like, has there been a Star Wars movie? We haven't had the streaming yet, but a Star Wars movie, all the new Star Wars movie that hasn't had the Big Mac at all in it.
Solo.
But we had Darth Maul at the end.
At the end, right.
We got a preview of a Big Mac.
Right.
We got a little bit. If you want this Big Mac, pump up the volume here on this box office because the sequel's going to probably have Darth Maul in it if there was a sequel. Not anymore.
He signed 3 movies, right?
Yeah.
Alden did?
Alden did, yeah. So I wonder if there could be something. But I liked that introduction. I liked it because it connected to Clone Wars finally and a little bit of Rebels with Darth Maul. Is that the Black Sun Syndicate that we could explore a little bit, and we had Darth Maul back. We had Sam Witwer doing some of it, or he was going to do. Yeah, he did the voice, and then of course Ray Park being back. So
would you be down for a Solo too?
I would.
Me too.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, that's the thing about it's my favorite analogy when it comes to Star Wars. It's like me. I'm a huge Miami Dolphins fan, and the Dolphins are terrible. They're a terrible team that has no chance to compete. Mm-hmm. But I will watch every single game.
Right.
And it's not like I don't want the Dolphins to exist anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody said, I hope nobody watches episode 9. I couldn't disagree more with that.
Why? Why are you watching this? It's a Star Wars show, and you don't want anybody to watch Episode 9?
It's like, of course I want to watch Episode 9. Of course I want to watch Solo 2.
You're in the wrong chat room.
But I want to put it out there of the things that at least the things that I'm looking for. Because putting it out into the universe, hopefully the midichlorians will take it and like it'll seep into the creators' heads and they'll refocus and rethink about what they're doing. But yeah, give me Solo 2. Make Solo 2 happen. I'm down with that.
I am as well, because I thought there was a lot of good things in Solo, but overall it just didn't land with me. And what I did like was the introduction of Darth Maul, and I think you can go a lot of places. I saw something in the chat, and I wonder if it's true, that the Solo 2 was going to be from the perspective of Boba Fett. I do love that idea. Boba Fett was in Solo. There was a version of Boba Fett that I think was either a deleted scene, but he's in the background when Solo goes to the planet where he meets Lando for the first time.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that he was in the background. You could see the makings of the helmet and the outfit, but he's just kind of hanging out in the background, and I think that was a little nod
Boba
Easter
Fett.
egg. Yeah. Boba Fett. Where?
Boba Fett.
Where?
Yeah.
You guys, jump in the chat room. Is that correct? Because I remember, let me look it up real quick. Boba Fett in Solo.
I think he is a she, and I think she is a changeling. Where's that from, guys?
Well, that's Attack of the Clones.
Yeah. Oh, you just spoiled it.
Sorry, I spoiled it.
You just spoiled it.
I'm looking for... Hey, we got a call.
Here we go.
You're on Rule of Two. Who do we got?
Hey, this is Chris from Atlanta.
Hey, Chris from Atlanta. How are you?
Pretty good. How are you guys? Love the show.
Thank
Cool.
you very much.
Man. Thank you.
So what's your question for us?
So I was watching episode 3 the other night, and I was kind of
Hell yeah.
particularly like the Battle of Utapau, where like the clone troopers kind of come in. And I was thinking most of the Star Wars stories, like ideas, are always in the original trilogy era. But what if there's one like short, one movie, kind of like Rogue One, but a war movie, but in the Clone Wars era? You kind of take George Lucas's vision from like the whole prequel era, like Attack of the Clones, Revenge of the Sith, and have clone troopers. Whether you have Obi-Wan and Anakin in it, maybe, but you could just focus on a different mission, like one singular mission, one singular campaign, but the whole war movie, kind of like Rogue One. And I was taking up and listen.
Yeah,
Dude,
thanks for the call, buddy. I like that. So look, for me, one of my favorite scenes in Clone War, in Attack of the Clones, is that scene where it's shot from the back of the clone troopers, and it's like real sandy. There's like sand, like
Explosions
dust clouds,
and dust clouds.
and they're like walking through, and they're like,
Yeah,
and, like,
yeah.
It feels like you're in the friggin' trenches,
Mm-hmm.
And the way that he describes it, George Lucas, is that he always wanted to get that War and Peace vibe. Like
Yeah.
in War and Peace, you get these massive, like, fights against each other. And I actually think that to me makes a lot of sense, because in Rogue One, it's still ultimately a small group of people that are resisting and fighting against a much larger group of people.
Yeah.
In the prequels, you had the Clone Army, which was a massive army, against the Trade Federation army, which was a massive army. So you had two fairly equally matched forces go up against each other.
Yeah.
That's a war.
Yeah.
Typically there's always one side that's a little stronger than the other, but it is a war like France versus Russia, like in Napoleonic times. Like that epic vibe, I actually think would be interesting.
I am so down for this,
Yeah.
and because you know what jumped in my mind more so than all that was just was doing like a Saving Private Ryan with the clone troopers,
Right.
Like a mission that it's like we're going in and not all of you are coming out, and then I thought about the great Clone Wars episodes when they realized the chip is in there for Order 66.
It's a great episode. I know exactly. It's funny. I went exactly there when you were talking about that.
And we've seen that, and we know that was able to have a couple clones that ended up living that ended up in Rebels. But I wonder what it would be like if it's a big Saving Private Ryan thing when Order 66 happens, and if there were a couple clones that deserted their post and what that would do.
Yeah.
So you get the war movie, you get them all together, and then Order 66 happens probably at like near the Act 2 climax, and the climax of the movie is dealing with that.
Hearing you talk and hearing our last caller, thank you very much for the call. And if you want to call in, 323-522-5515, call in, talk to us, ask us some questions. But
Yeah.
hearing you talk and hearing the last caller talk, it's like something that's been welling up inside of me for a while.
Ooh, I like this.
That I think the best Star Wars content we've ever gotten, like, might be the Clone Wars.
That's an interesting, yeah.
Like,
I mean,
pound for pound. If you look at it,
enjoyment.
if you look at it as a one holistic thing, right? And you got episode 4, you got episode 5, episode 6, you got the prequels, you got Clone Wars, you got Rebels, you got the sequels, Rogue One, Solo, all the stuff that we've gotten, and you put it all together and you look at each thing individually. I think pound for pound, the most Star Warsy thing for me that delivers the most punch
is the Clone Wars.
might be the Clone Wars. Look, I'm not ready to make that an official thing.
Right.
But it might be the Clone Wars because it has that. It's got massive war. It's got great episodes where it's war. It's got great episodes that it's all about the Force. It's got great episodes of Anakin succumbing to the dark side.
Right.
It's got great episodes of Anakin being a great friend to Ahsoka. It's got episodes where Asajj Ventress and Obi-Wan Kenobi team up. You know, like
Yoda going to Dagobah and having to deal with the dark side energies coming up. Meeting
Darth Maul with the
Darth Bane
with the Night Sisters.
Yep.
You know, his brother.
It's some of the best storytelling, I would say, and some of the best introduction of characters and like tying some mythology into not only the prequels but the sequel trilogy. Hey, man, I mean, I'm the original trilogy will forever be the best Star Wars for me.
For sure. It's the classiest Star Wars.
Yeah.
Somebody here just wrote Clone Wars better than Empire Strikes Back with 3 question marks.
Whoa.
I'm not ready to jump on that.
Let's not jump to conclusions here.
I'm not ready to jump on that. And first of all, this is very personal. I'm talking about my personal favorite thing that clicks all the boxes. Now, granted, I believe Clone Wars averaged about 20 episodes a season.
Yeah, something like that.
And it was 6 seasons at like 22 minutes each. So it's a lot. It's a lot of content.
And, you know, that's the thing about TV series and why we're seeing this new version of like home entertainment and streaming and these binge-worthy shows is because you can really dive into characters and tell a story that doesn't have to be contained within 2 hours.
You know, that's an episode. We should do this as an episode. And tell me if you like this.
The Mortis trilogy. Yeah, thank you, Juna T.
Mortis trilogy is one of my favorite
It's fantastic.
storylines. We should do an episode where we rank our top 10 Clone Wars episodes.
Oh, it's a great idea. Yeah.
You know, and really give it a little survey, take some time and really look through it.
Watch them again, because I would put the Yoda episode when you talk about Big Mac.
Where Yoda goes and he sees
goes to
Sifo-Dyas.
Dagobah. He goes to Dagobah. He gets visited by Darth Bane.
Yeah.
That was my favorite. That was like I said, you talk about the Big Mac. You're getting all the Big Mac.
Yeah.
And that's one of my favorites. But I love that idea. So thank you very much for that. We have another call
We got
coming
another
in.
caller. What's up, buddy?
Hey, you're on Rule of Two. Who do we got?
My name's Sean.
Hey, Sean. What do you got for us today?
So in The Last Jedi, Rey had a lot of confidence in bringing Kylo Ren to the, making him on the light side again.
Right.
Do you think she'll still have any of that confidence left in The Rise of Skywalker?
It's a great question.
I don't think she will. I don't think she should. I think she should just realize that, he's not worth tampering with. He should just die. I mean, I don't even think he should be redeemed at this point because
why not?
We've already seen Darth Vader get redeemed, so that's why it's already been done. Seeing the bad guy get redeemed, so I think
do you want Kylo to be redeemed? Like forget about whether it's been done before or not. Personally, when you look at Kylo Ren on the screen, do you have any empathy for him, or do you see him like Mark Ellis sees him as the guy who killed Han Solo, so he's trash?
Right.
Yeah, I mean, he did kill Han Solo, but there's so much history. There's still so much that we don't know about. There could be a lot of reasons for his troubles and everything like that. So I guess that's a good point, putting everything aside in terms of the storytelling, whether it's been done before and all that stuff. Yeah. I guess in that sense, I kind of want him to be redeemed because, there's that theory about, did Han have an affair with Kira? before The Force Awakens, and then that's why him and Leia were separated, and that's why Kylo was mad at Han.
Ooh.
There's just so much that could have happened.
I didn't hear that theory. I like that.
You know,
Yeah. So thank you for the call,
Yeah.
man.
Yeah, great question.
Yeah. Go ahead. You take it.
Well, I mean, right? Star Wars deals in echoes, and we think that Kylo Ren is going to be redeemed by the end of Episode 9.
It's not so much that we think; is that I want Kylo Ren to be redeemed.
You do want him to.
I do want him to be redeemed.
See, I thought you didn't. I don't.
Because that, to me, ultimately is the moral of the story.
It is
of all Star Wars.
And I want it to be a little bit Greek tragedy. I want him to go out. I want him to die as he started. I think it would be fascinating that he was a lost Skywalker, and that Rey could continue to try.
That's fair, but
But
for me,
he's just fascinating, and I know they're going to go about it. So I'm not opposed because I know we're probably getting it, and it's going to weigh the execution. That because Kylo Ren is my favorite character in the new trilogy, if he goes redeemed and it's done in a way, and I walk out of there going, I'm so glad he was redeemed, then they work. The storyteller's got me.
yeah, because look, for me, the reason why I think redemption is Star Wars, it's one of the edicts of Star Wars,
Right.
is because Star Wars is, in my opinion, and I've said this on the show a million times, but I'll say it again. To me, Star Wars is it's a bar mitzvah story, okay? And it's a coming of age story. It's the story of a child losing his innocence and becoming a man or a woman.
Right.
Okay, it's all about that. It's a coming of age epic, like Spider-Man.
Rite of passage.
It's the rite of passage of losing your innocence and gaining your adulthood. Now, in that transitionary period, I know that I made a lot of stupid choices. You probably made some dumb choices you weren't too proud of.
Oh my God, yes.
But the greatest advice that anybody can give you when you make these kind of stupid choices is that, and obviously killing somebody is an extreme metaphorical way to exemplify it. But sometimes you can make really, really, really bad decisions. Look at yourself in the mirror, understand that they were bad decisions, feel genuine remorse for them, and then do what's necessary to redeem yourself of that choice.
Right.
I think is one of the most important lessons that life has to give, is that the book is not written. Every choice you make, unless it's an extreme choice, that obviously, is a violent crime or something really, really, really bad.
Right.
That it's not about somebody giving you a second chance, is that life is also about you giving yourself a second chance.
That's a great way to put it, too. And I think that really ties in very nicely with the Kylo Ren character, who, as we know, he was telling the visage of Vader, or Vader's helmet in Force Awakens, the light is still calling to me.
Right.
And that Snoke was in his head, and so he thought that he could obliterate the light by killing his father. But it just, from what I understand, and I read some of the adaptation of The Last Jedi, the light is still calling to him, and that's what Rey is feeling. So we're set up for that redemption.
Yeah.
It's there.
Somebody said here, Ben will be dead by the end of Episode 9. I believe that is pretty strong possibility.
Yeah,
that
he'll die, but redeeming himself in the way.
Or some kind of you were right about me type. Look, very, very Darth Vader-y, right?
Yeah. I mean, he's going down that path. He wants to be Vader.
Yeah,
you know?
One thing that I'm very excited about, this is a total non sequitur, but one thing that I'm very excited about is this Lego Skywalker Saga game.
Oh, yeah, it looks fun.
Have you heard about this?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So basically, it's supposed to be episodes 1 through 9 in one game. And I've been trying to look up everything I can about the Skywalker Saga game to see if there's any little leaks in there.
Ooh.
Because that game knows exactly what the story is.
Right.
Reshoots or no reshoots, the fundamental beats are in there. So if anybody has anything, go out there and look up Lego, the Skywalker Saga. See if you can find any clues that might give us a little glimpse at what's to come for Episode 9. One thing that I can tell you for sure is that little droid. That little droid that kind of looks like a little triangle, on a wheel.
Right. Yeah, the new droid.
Yeah, the new droid is going to be a big part of this new movie.
I think so. And I wonder, with Kylo Ren, it's an interesting thing. I mean, I think JJ is going to play it kind of legit, when it comes to a straightforward Star Wars movie and not subvert expectations. Not that Rian Johnson was trying to do that. I think maybe he was, but I think it worked for me in that sense. But
God, I love this comment. It's hard to interrupt you. I love this comment.
I wonder if we're on the same comment.
Ben redeems himself and lives in exile on Tatooine.
Oh, I love that. Actually, I have a different one.
I like that comment because imagine if at the end it's literally Ben, Skywalker going back to Tatooine.
Now we're talking. Now we're getting back to this melt your mind thing.
Right. Goes back to Tatooine.
Because does he have to die?
Becomes a moisture farmer, right?
Yeah. But he goes in, he exiles himself?
He exiles himself. I like that. Nolan Ryan.
like that.
I also like the pitcher, Nolan Ryan, so good name. But which comment did you have?
Well, Frost Kaiser Guys writes, do you think bringing Palpatine back diminishes Darth Vader Anakin's sacrifice?
Yes.
I love that question.
I think it does. You
do, huh? Okay.
I think it does. I think it does big time.
Okay.
I think that if they're going to bring the Emperor back, and I do believe they're going to bring him back.
Oh, yeah, he's back.
I think that the way that I would personally do it, if let's say that let's say, in some dream world they brought me in. Okay, let's say they brought us in, right?
Right.
They brought us in after Force Awakens and The Last Jedi, the way that they were made, right? So we couldn't touch those two movies. They are the way that they are. Okay. The way that I would do it is that I would bring the Emperor back, but at this point, there's so much exposition that's necessary to explain what the fuck is going on,
right?
That I would make it flashback. Okay. I would use the stuff that Goyer has done with Vader Immortal and the Black Bishop.
So great.
I would connect that with Vader, and I would connect that with the Emperor, and I would connect the Emperor and Snoke in a deeper way, and I would somehow have Snoke get his last laugh in. Because Snoke was a cool character.
I know. I definitely want the explanation on who he is, why he is, how did he get to Ben?
Yeah, how did he manipulate? How did he completely undermine everything that Luke Skywalker had built?
Right.
That to me is the biggest unsolved question. How the fuck did Snoke undermine everything that Luke Skywalker did? That needs an answer.
I agree with you. To go back though, does it diminish Darth Vader Anakin's sacrifice? And I say absolutely not. You know why? Because he did save the life of his son. And that was the whole point.
Right.
Even if the guy, if he threw let's just for instance, he threw the Emperor off the thing, and the Emperor, instead of dying, or what we think, and maybe Episode 9 will reveal this, he's able to use the Force somehow, slows down, and he lives. Well, guess what? Vader's back. Anakin is back. And so that move still has some weight to it because Luke got to his father. So it doesn't matter for me that the Emperor died or not died or comes back.
But also, and I remember hearing this around the time, in the mid 90s, when we were watching just the first 3 movies, that's all we had, that one of the main reasons also why Darth Vader dies is because the Emperor dies. And that the Emperor was keeping Darth alive.
Dude, you're doing this is, oh my God, you just rattled a memory clear of me because we were talking about that. I remember hearing that, and I would rewind the movie to where when Vader lifts the Emperor, all the Force lightning is going on him. And so I was always saying he got Force lightning to death.
Yeah. Which is possible too.
Yeah. So,
but it was also talked about that when he throws Palpatine in the pit, right, that Palpatine dies, and Palpatine was, through some weird Force manipulation, keeping Vader alive. I mean, this is something that's been discussed.
That's great. I like that as well.
And it ties in perfectly, obviously, with Revenge of the Sith and Plagueis and all that shit.
Yeah.
And it ties in with the fact that the manipulation of learning how to, keep somebody alive was just a manipulation technique, and the irony was that the Emperor was actually going to keep him alive.
Yeah.
It had nothing to do with Padme.
Yeah. I love all that. That's awesome.
Oh,
Good stuff. We got a caller.
We got maybe. We only got 10 minutes after
We got
the show.
10 minutes.
Yeah.
You're on Rule of Two. Who do we got?
Hello.
Hello. You're on Rule of Two. How are you?
Hey, Reilly here, Fernandez. How you guys doing?
Good.
We're doing good, man.
What's
We're
your
doing
name?
good.
Awesome. This is Hoos from Michigan.
Who's nice to meet you. What's your question today?
Nice to meet you. So here's my thing. I love this show so much because of all the speculation, the theories, and even the what ifs.
Yeah.
And I kind of do that in my own medium, where I take pictures of my figures anytime a theory pops up. And I tagged Fernandez a couple times. I think you've seen it on Link the Jedi.
Yeah. But some cool pictures.
Oh, cool.
Some cool
Right.
pictures.
Thanks
yeah.
a lot. I appreciate that. So there's one that I came up with, and it's not really been touched upon, is Luke meeting Lor Santeca for the very first time. And I've always thought about that. Like, it's always intrigued me, and no one's ever really talked about that. And I just want to know how the Church of the Force started, and
Right.
the connections with him and Leia and Luke. So I thought that was interesting. I want to get your guys' thoughts on that.
Yeah, man. Look, thank you, Link the Jedi. Keep making those pictures, man. They're really cool. I love the one that you did of Luke building his lightsaber. I thought that was really cool. Keep doing what you're doing, man. It's good stuff, and thank you for the call.
Thank you for the call. I would love to see Luke meeting with the great Max von Sydow, if we could get him back. Again, this is all...
That's another one. Like
I know. You tell me Max von Sydow is coming into a Star Wars movie, and although he
obviously knows Kylo.
He knows Kylo.
And he knows the Skywalker family.
She will always be royalty to me.
Yeah, will always be royalty to me.
He knows Luke. And
but we know nothing about him. Like, literally nothing. Like, maybe he shows up in the books and whatever. But if you're like us or like me, and, you primarily watch the movies.
Right.
And, Clone Wars I'm a huge fan of. The video games I'm a huge fan of. I've only read... the Heir to the Empire, the Zom trilogy.
Yeah.
I've read those back in the day, and I tried reading Darth Bane, and I'm still plowing my way through it.
Yeah, you got to get. Oh, I loved it so much.
Have
you read Plagueis?
I haven't finished it. I haven't finished it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I have no idea who this Lor Santeca guy is.
Right. I would love to see it because anything with more Luke. Obviously me being Luke is my favorite. Anakin's your favorite. I mean, but Lor Santeca is a nice kind of glue to what was Luke doing.
Yeah. He's a cool character. Like, what the fuck? Who the fuck is that guy?
He was a great character. Well, he was killed. He's gone. But I hope he comes. I mean, listen, we're not going to be able to bring him back unless there's a flashback.
How old you've become.
It's such great lines too at the very end. It felt so. When Force Awakens started, if we can talk just real quick on that scene in particular,
loved it.
That was the most Star Warsy. You talk about getting right back up on the horse.
Brilliant.
Loved it so much. But yeah, Lor Santeca is a fascinating character. I hope that maybe we can. Again, it's really hard for me with all the supplemental materials that are out there. We're movie guys.
Yeah.
And I'm going to be a streaming guy too when it comes to The Mandalorian. So.
But I'm
There's
with
a
you,
lot
man.
of options.
From the beginning of The Force Awakens, for me, and I've talked about it on this show 10,000 times, but from the beginning of The Force Awakens up until the point where you see Harrison Ford, which is ironic because Harrison Ford is probably one of my favorite actors of all time. Force Awakens is for me a 5-star movie.
Right up to Han Solo. And you lose it with Han Solo, huh?
I lose it with Han Solo. Everything after that,
that's
to me,
where it just kept going for me.
Everything after that to me just makes no sense.
Oh wow!
Yeah, it makes absolutely it gets boring for me. It gets repetitive. It gets pedantic.
Once Han Solo shows up, it just ramps it up for me.
Yeah, for me, it had the opposite effect. Like the Wrath Targ scene is probably the most boring scene.
The Wrath Targs are
Star
stupid,
Wars.
but I love. Are you kidding me? I love Han Solo, Chewbacca being faced with Conja Club and the actors from the raid coming in, because he's like, "What, La Chi? Good to see you." And then Chewie's right there. He's like, "I've never lied to you, have you?" And Chewie's like,
But it's just my suspension of disbelief went out the window in that whole scene because I'm not seeing a character who's had growth of 30 years.
Han Solo, you mean?
Yeah. I'm seeing a character who's trying to be the same guy that I left him as without any passage of time.
See,
he doesn't seem to give a shit about his wife. He left her. He's traveling around with on this big spaceship, I guess doing crime again. It's just
smuggling.
he's the same guy that
he went back because you know why? He loses his son to Snoke. That's going to put a strain on the marriage, and he goes back to the only thing he knew how to do.
Right,
and
but we
it
don't
takes
know how
himself
he
out
lost him to Snoke, so to us it doesn't mean anything.
But that's implied. I mean, it's implied when he sees Leia again. And she even says it. We lost our boy.
Right.
And then he
That
turns
scene
his
I like.
back.
I saw him.
He turns his back.
Yeah, he tells her, I saw him.
And then he makes the ultimate sacrifice to come back to try to get him and you know, pull him back from the darkness into the light. And then that great scene as the sun is powering down because it's getting sucked by Starkiller Base, that darkness goes there and then we know it's coming. And like, so it worked perfectly for me, but that's just me sticking up for that moment.
Yeah, and like this is something I'll give John Campy a lot of credit for this one. Like when I saw The Force Awakens, you know, Campy and I were hanging out quite a bit. And I remember he told me something that always stuck with me about how I don't love the Han Solo character in Force Awakens.
Yeah.
And Campia made a very astute observation, which was you don't see Luke try very hard to connect with Kylo.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sorry, Han to connect with Kylo, right? Like you needed 2 or 3 moments of them trying to connect for you to really feel that loss at the end. And you really don't get that. Like you only have that one scene where he's looking at him carrying Rey into the spaceship.
Right.
That's the only time Han sees him before they meet up on that, you know, like walkway.
Right.
Like that's it. You know, like you don't have any other interactions except for Han seeing him from afar and then them walking at the thing. So you don't know what their relationship is like. You have no idea.
See,
like
it was filled in with me when he meets with Leia. See, I got a lot of exposition from that. You know, in those intimate moments with Leia and Han, they mentioned Ben, they mentioned Kylo Ren, they mentioned Snoke, and that filled in a lot for me. But I agree. I could have loved to see some kind of interaction.
Something just to make it meatier, because at the end, you know he's going to kill him. And like there's no surprise.
What about this? Because there was a deleted scene on Starkiller Base. Kylo Ren finds the Millennium Falcon, walks into the cockpit, and looks around, and it's a quiet moment of him looking around going...
Right, they cut that scene.
Right. But he's looking around going, it was my dad's ship. This son of a bitch abandoned me. That's what I was getting from the deleted scene, the inner monologue that Kylo Ren would be having. Excuse me, that could have been... Maybe that would have filled in some blanks.
Let's try to see if we get one more call, one last one. We only have about 5 minutes left.
One more
there we
call.
Go.
We got
Ask
it.
and you shall deliver.
Yep, you're on Rule of 2. Who do we got?
Hello?
Hello, you're on Rule of 2. Who do we got?
Oh, hey, it's Ryan from Detroit. How are you guys?
Hey, Ryan from Detroit.
What's up, Ryan?
What do you got for us
Not
today?
much. So I was reading the article, I think it was yesterday, maybe the day before. Jon Favreau was talking about his process going into The Mandalorian and how he had met George Lucas and asked for his advice. And Lucas had said something along the lines of, you know, yes, we can ultimately love these stories as adults, but kind of what makes them is that these are about growing up, about that weird line that you cross where you're no longer a kid, so on and so forth. And one of the things that I loved about The Last Jedi was that it seemed to be the first Star Wars movie, about not just growing up, but about growing old in the way that they handled Luke, which I absolutely adored. I was wondering maybe what your take was on that, and if you think there's room to play around with themes like that, even if they're not what George had initially envisioned.
First of all, it's a great point, and thank you very much for the call. It's an awesome point. And
Thank you.
It reminds me actually of Once Upon a Time in Hollywood.
Right.
That's what Once Upon a Time in Hollywood is, right?
It really is. Here's the quote. I pulled it up real quick. We had a long talk with each other. This is Favreau talking to Lucas. One thing he said to me was, remember, John, the real audience for all stories and all myths is the kids that are coming of age, because he's really a Joseph Campbell adherent.
Yeah. Look, first of all, great call. Great. Thank you for that call. Thank you for that point. I do think that Star Wars can be a vessel to tell these monumental life milestones. Yeah. You know, growing old is one of them. You know? And I do think, look how old you've become is probably one of my favorite lines in the sequels, period. Yeah. Because it's such a powerful, powerful moment.
Because he remembers him when he was a kid.
Right.
Must have been, right? So now he's there, powerful.
I mean, even though we don't know, because
Yeah.
J.J. Abrams does not want to tell us or give us specifics. He doesn't, But I do like the idea of. I mean, look, my favorite superhero movie. I think pound for pound, I think the greatest superhero movie ever made is probably The Dark Knight. Like if you're looking at it academically, but my personal favorite is Logan, without a doubt.
Logan is getting up there for me.
Yeah.
I just watched it again too.
Yeah, Logan is my personal favorite because it is about the growing old part of it.
Your mortality.
And like
facing that mortality when you've been a superhero all your life. What is that like?
I love that.
Yeah.
Now, do I feel like The Last Jedi did a good job at giving me the Luke growing old story? I don't know. No, but I got to watch it again from that perspective, and maybe there's a little bit more meat on that bone if I'm looking for it specifically.
I haven't thought about it that way. It's a good way to look at it. I mean, I personally have liked, we've seen our heroes in Luke Skywalker and Han Solo, and to an extent, General Leia, all go, like General Leia, Princess Leia, kept doing what she was doing, right? She kept leading. She kept, and so there wasn't a lot of change with her. We'll see what happens in Episode 9, and I wonder how, handcuffs are going to be with, God rest her soul, losing Carrie Fisher. Han Solo turned his back. Luke Skywalker turned his back. What are the filmmakers? And again, everybody gives Rian Johnson a lot of shit. J.J. Abrams sent him off onto an island.
Yeah.
And Rian Johnson had to pick up the pieces and fill in the blanks. Why would he be on that island? Right? He turned his back on us.
Well, we don't know because we don't know what he's obviously on that island because Snoke put him there.
Snoke didn't put him there.
Not directly, but indirectly.
Indirectly, yeah. He wanted to. This is my read on Luke.
Yeah.
I've always said he didn't want history to repeat himself. He takes himself out of it.
Is your thing dead?
Is my thing dead?
Cody, are we still on the air?
Yeah.
You're good.
We're still good.
Good.
We're good.
I'm sorry. Go ahead. Keep going.
No, but Luke did turn his back, but I feel like he was taking himself out of it because there was a hubris in Jedi, right? He brings up Darth Sidious. He brings up the hubris of the Jedi thinking that they're all powerful and that the dark side snuck right in.
Right.
And that's exactly, he saw it happening with Ben Solo turning into Kylo Ren. There is going to be more in Episode 9, so I hope we get it because it's hard to judge it just on that because I think we're going to get some of that fill in the blanks with Luke because I can understand it, and I think it's interesting when you see a hero fall so far. That's interesting to me as a writer because if I see Luke Skywalker walk into the mist going, hey, I'm back, hey, Force, powerful Jedi, and you're done, the movie's over, no trilogy. Right. It's like that's why it's like it always drives me crazy when people are so like that's not my Luke. It's like I get it, he's not my Luke either. This is a different Luke.
Right, but if you come back, you come back to face a demon that you want to overcome.
And he did, and that was the whole point. I mean, he faced that demon head on.
We still don't even know what the demon was.
Right. That I agree with. And we're going to get that in Episode 9. I hope. We better. And that'll do
because
it. Finish your thought because then we'll wrap up the show.
Obviously, I'm a huge Palpatine guy. Second favorite character in all of Star Wars next to Anakin.
Yeah.
One of my favorite characters in all of, fucking movies, period. And yeah, having him back would be great and cool, and I'm sure that I'll like it no matter what. But if I had to choose between having Palpatine back or understanding who the fuck Snoke is and how he undermined Luke Skywalker and how he drove Skywalker into Octu, into isolation, and pretty much destroyed this guy and left him as like this meaningless hermit, I'd rather hear that story.
I would too.
Than like just get a retread on a character that was, I thought, resolved extremely well in Return of the Jedi.
I can't disagree with that. And based on what you said, I need some answers with Snoke, and I think we could get it with Snoke through the Emperor, but not necessarily the Emperor being back, but in some way, there is some great stuff that some of the Battlefront 2, sorry, I couldn't pull the name, where he had contingency plans in place that the Emperor did. So, and it was a hologram. Now, that could work with the Emperor being back, a hologram, but it needs to tie to Snoke. I totally agree with you. So we'll end it there, guys. This has been...
Sorry to cut you off again, but we didn't even touch the topic.
You take us out, Fernandez.
We didn't even touch the topic.
Well, I think we touched the topic. Will the fandom embrace episode 9? I mean, that's what we're talking about.
Yeah.
Are you guys excited? I'm going to leave it at this because if you're listening to this on Jedi Council PodcastOne feed, you can share this. You can hit us up on Twitter. But here on the video, on Collider Video YouTube channel, we do check the comments. Are you excited for episode 9? Are you going to embrace this? What do you need from it? And how is Palpatine going to be involved? That seems to be the question that is on everybody's mind. And I want to know. I mean, what
Maybe
needs to be?
Maybe we change the title. Maybe we change the title of the video.
We could, but but it's interesting to me. I'll leave it at this.
Yeah.
I saw a lot of reactions to the tweet, the initial tweet. It's like, are you going to embrace this thing or not?
Everybody was like, nah.
I saw no. I saw a lot of yeses.
Okay.
And I saw some no's.
Yeah, good.
And I saw some no's, and I know somebody came in the chat here on a Star Wars show and said, I don't want to watch episode 9.
Right.
And I said, well, this is great. So I understand that, but what is it? That's why I want to read these comments. I want to get these questions and get interacting with you on Twitter as well. What needs to happen for you to embrace episode 9?
Right.
Me, I'm a Star Wars fan. I can't wait. But is there something that needs to happen, like in your mind? And I think we answered it for at least a couple of things that we wanted. Snoke
needs to be resolved.
I wanted, because Snoke will take care of not only this mystery, but also take care of why Luke Skywalker did what he did, how Ben Solo fell to the dark side, how the Knights of Ren came to be. Do you see how Snoke? You go down the line here.
Yeah.
And you're realizing that there's a lot of answers that needs to be made. And JJ, I'm sorry, again, with your mystery box stuff.
It's like enough already, bro.
Yeah, enough. He's going to wrap it up here with episode 9.
Yeah.
At least that's what we hope. All right, guys, thank you very much. We went a little bit over, but that's fun. We loved having you here. Great calls coming in. Great chat work happening.
Great callers.
It was episode 51 of Rule of Two. We've been doing this now. Happy anniversary for a year. It popped up on my Facebook memories.
Happy anniversary.
We've been doing this for a year now, and that is because of all of you watching along, commenting along, hitting us up on Twitter, and leaving comments. We really appreciate it. If you're listening on the PodcastOne Jedi Council feed, rate this podcast, send it out to your friends, let us know how we're doing. And here, 5 p.m. every Monday on Collider Videos, you'll get Rule of Two. So we'll see you for an all-new one next week.
Rise.
Yeah.